Hi guys, and welcome to another Warzone Studios tutorial video. In this episode, by request, I'm going to be looking at building assets for 28mm 3D miniatures. In this case, it's going to be a sword. I'll be covering possibly, like a warhammer, maybe a staff, axes, stuff like that. I've done a shield in the last video, and to be fair, I've had quite a few people responding to it, so it seems, you're obviously liking what you're seeing. So we're going to cover a two-handed longsword in this, and we're going to be mostly box modeling it between object mode and edit mode, which you can get to with your tab key. We're going to be doing just a little tiny bit of detail sculpting and getting it ready to export as a model. I'm not going to be worrying about scale. I'm not going to be worrying about making sure it fits with the miniature, because the thing with digital assets is you can essentially build them at any scale you want and then scale them to the size they need to be when you need them. It's so much easier than worrying about it from literally minute one. So we're just going to crack straight on. We're going to start with the cube at the size it's at. We're going to delete this light, we're going to delete this camera because we really have no need for them in this, and we're going to select this cube. We're going to jump straight into scale, and we're going to scale this thing out so it's nice and long. The exact size doesn't matter. You can go for ridiculous, or you can go for a little gladius. It's all about whatever your end result wants to be, because the processes are going to remain exactly the same. So I'm going to scale this down now to make it as wide as I want the widest part of my sword to be. So we're going to jump into edit mode. Down in my bottom left, I've got screencast turned on now. So this should make things easier, so you can see as I click, it just pops up down there and tells you what it is I've clicked. So this will also show up all my little key shortcuts as I'm using them as well. So we're going to put an edge loop in. We're going to chuck it near the tip end. There should be fine. And we're going to chuck another one in. And we're going to throw this one down the middle. Actually, no. Yeah, no, that was perfect. Sorry. Right. Are we? Yeah. Now we're going to mooch our way around. We're going to go to face select, and holding shift rather, we're going to select all these outside edges, making sure we don't select anything but. Cool. And we're going to delete those faces. We're going to go back to vertex select, and we're going to go into X-ray mode, and I'm just going to box select all of these end vertices at the point end. We're going to merge vertex at center, and that's going to make me a lovely nice little point. We're going to box select these and do exactly the same. Merge at center. And we're going to box select these. Guess what? Oops. Merge at center. So now if I turn X-ray off, you can see we got a nice sharp pointy sword at this end. Right. We're going back to the safe end of the sword. Do the exact same operation on these as well, and we now have a sword blade. Lovely jubbly. I'm going to box select all of these end ones, and I'm just going to throw a quick face on the end of the sword, just so that I know the blade is a complete and manifold item all of its own. Lovely. I'm going to go into edge select, and I'm going to select the edge running along the center of the sword, but not this section near the tip. Now holding shift, I'm going to click on the one at the bottom as well. I'm going to throw a bevel on that. And I'm going to scroll up until I've got 3 cuts along the length of my bevel. The wider you pull this, the wider the groove that we're going to run up the center of the sword will be. So I think about there will be fine. Double tap A to deselect everything. And I'm going to select again that center. Holding shift, the center on the bottom as well. And I'm going to scale on the Z axis to get me a nice groove. Oops, didn't mean to do that. And there we have the blade of the sword. Very fast, very easy, and very long. This is going to be a big sword. So we're going to call in, no we're not, we're going to tab out of edit mode back into object mode. We're going to call in another object. We're having a cube. We're going to slide that cube all the way down to the bottom of the sword, or off the bottom of the sword actually, for the time being. Jump into scale, and we're going to scale it down on the Z. Let's move it up just a bit so I can see. There we go. And yeah, we're going to scale up. Oops. Back into scale mode. Scale it out a little. On the gizmo, you can see scale because it has a little square at the end. The move tool has arrows, and the rotate tool is completely different, so you'll not mistake that. But I quite often mistake the grab and the scale because I'm like that. And we're going to cut the scale down a little on the y-axis as well, I think. Move it back up. Actually, no. No, let's make that bigger again. Cool. Bigger. Yeah, that'll do. That'll do. Edit mode. Control R for an edge loop. We're going to throw one in the middle. Quite happy with that. Edge select. Make sure you're on your pointer. I've set that shortcut as Q, so if you see Q pop up, that's because I'm going to the pointer. So we point select that. Holding down shift, I'm going to get the one on the opposite side as well. I'm going to move those straight down to make a nice pointy thing. And out of there, back into move, and I'm going to pull that up so it embraces the blade completely. Right, I'm going to jump into edit mode. Edge select. I'm going to take 1, holding shift 2, spin my sword around 3 and 4. Control B for bevel. And I'm going to throw a manual bevel on that. Now that I like. Back into object mode. It chases the line of this groove down the sword, just steps out a little on each side. I like that. That's kind of cool. Right, we're going to go back to the blade, and we're going to go Control A to the apply. And before I do that, if I jump here onto the information, you can see our scale is showing a scale of 1.0. 21.817, 0. Blah 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 blah. We need that to read scale of 1 across the board, because if we went to sculpt or apply UVs or do anything, it would stretch it out along that y-axis and shrink it a little on the z-axis. So we're going to select, Control A, and we're going to apply scale. And you can see it all jumps back down to 1. That's you telling Blender that the scale it presently at is its correct scale. We're going to do the same with this. I don't even know what this piece of a sword is called, so I can't even call it by name, I'm afraid. we're going to apply scale. Last thing we're going to do is we're going to rename this blade, and we're going to name that, God blind, what can we name that? I'm going to call that guard top, because that's the top piece of the handguard. Lovely jubbly. So they are complete. We're cracking on really fast here. We're going to Shift A. We're going to call in a cube. As soon as we've done that, we're going to go into the modifier tab and we're going to put on a mirror modifier. We're going to turn on clipping. We are now going to move this and we're going to jump into edit mode. I'm going to throw in an edge loop. I'm going to box. I'm going to box select everything on this half and delete it. So now I only have half a cube. But because I have the mirror modifier on, make sure clipping is, yep. You can see there clipping has basically joined the two faces together. So now we're going to stop there. I'm going to throw in some edge loops. That will be fine. I'll spin round, face select, just this, and extrude it out to there, and then I'm going to scale it down and scale it in to a bit of a flat-ended point. And I've now applied that mirror modifier. And I'm going to throw on my subsurf now. And to be fair, that's not too shabby, that works. I'm going to leap back in here. Wow. Control R. We're going to throw on a couple of edge loops. Just to straighten up these edges again a little bit. As you can see, the further I pull that down to the edge, the tighter that edge becomes, and the more 90 degrees, the further away, the more round it becomes. So with a bit of edge slide, I can really play with just how rounded those bottom corners are. And to be fair, I like that. That'll do well. So we're going to reset the scale. We're going to apply that subsurface, and we're going to call in a cylinder. I'm going to throw that cylinder all the way down here. We're going to rotate that cylinder by 90 degrees. Just rotate it a little bit and this window will appear down here. As soon as it appears down here, you can go in and key in the exact amount you want it to adjust by. we're going to jump into edit mode. We're on edge select, A to D, select everything. Alt A to catch that entire loop. Alt A to catch. Shift Alt A. So Shift is an inclusive selection, and then Alt A to select the entire edge loop. Control B bevel. And we're going to throw a bevel on it as well. Out of edit mode. And this is the handle. Let's get this scaled. Now we don't want it perfectly round. Because it wouldn't be perfectly round. So we want it slightly elliptical. Yeah, that's sitting quite well. Now I'm going to... I can copy and paste with, as you see, Control C and Control V. So Control C and Control V. I've now got a duplicate on top of that, which I am going to scale up. And then move up. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Now, I'm going to go back to this original piece. I'm going to add an array modifier. And I'm going to... probably 5 at a guess. Right, let's reset that to 0 and just show you exactly where I'm at with this. So, there's my original. I've told it I want 5 instances, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right now, its relative offset is along the x-axis. That's no good to us. Equally, the y-axis is no good to us. So that equally wants to be 0. But the z-axis is exactly where we want it to be, and we want it right there. And that is exactly the look I'm looking for, these knurled sort of grab handles. I'm not going for hyper detail because this is, let's face it, 28mm. So I've applied that straight on. I'm going to take this, Control C, Control V. I'm going to move that copy straight down to there. Now, for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to run a Boolean operation now. That's the one we can delete that now. And add modifier Boolean. Union, because we want them to join. Take your picker tool and select the piece you want to join. And apply. When they're all joined together, you can delete the original piece that we put into place. Now, I like when I'm building, I like to have each of my individual items separate so I can move them about and shuffle them. But in the case of the handle, I've joined on these two extra bits, if you like, but I've still left the handle itself separate so it can be moved about all over the place. So it's a compromise. So we're going to Shift A and we're going to add in a cylinder. We're going to move that cylinder all the way at the bottom. Oh, I'll tell you what we haven't done on this. We're going to Control A and we're going to apply the scale. Lovely. We're going to scale this cylinder down. Can we move it a little further? We probably can, to be fair. It looks a bit silly tacked on the edge. I think it's a scale issue. I think if it was scaled up, it would look so much more marvelous. So, face select, double A to get rid of everything. Select, Shift select, I to inset faces, I to inset faces again, and without moving it I'm going to click it again. Scale, move down in my Z, and I have a nice little inset medallion on the end of my sword. And there we have, essentially, a monstrous two-handed broadsword. So I want to sculpt a little design here, maybe a little design here, some rivets along here. Just some bigger details that are going to really pop out. So I'm going to select this, jump straight into sculpting. Wow. Sort my view out. I'm going to remesh. I'm going to go voxel size 0.02. I'm going to preserve volume. And remesh. Now I've got much more responsive sculpting. Lovely. Let's take that down to 8 will do then. So I'm going to put X, Y and Z on. Now, the wonders of Z is what I do on the front is repeated on the back. Bloomin' marvellous. Now, there's loads you could do. I mean, we could pull a snake hook brush off the bottom and pull spikes out or spikes out. But you know what? Something dead, simple, straight lines, quite bold. This should carry across when we print it. Now I'm going to go in with the crease brush and tidy some of this up. I'm using that crease to really accent the detail that we have sculpted on. Do you know what? Let's increase the strength of that quite substantially. Yeah, that'll do. So we're going to jump straight into layout. We're going to ignore the handle completely. And we're going to jump back in. Now, I'm going to turn off Y. So I now have X symmetry and Z symmetry. So I'm on both sides. Let's just stick with the rivets. Because rivets rule. So let's take Y off. And let's get a couple here. Let's get a couple here. Let's get a couple going on here. Right, I'm going to jump back to layout one more time. Back in here one more time. Remesh this center part. So, there we have our sword. We're going to start with the blade, add modifier, union. No, we're going to start here, and we're going to run a decimate modifier on that. We're going to decide if we can get away with the various amounts of decimation. So if I go 0.3, and again to 0.1, very little difference, we'll apply that. Again with the decimate, 0.1. 0.05. I want to take decimation down to the point where it just starts. There we go. Just starts to show polys on the rivets and stuff. And the same on that. We're going to throw a decimate on that. 0.05. That's a bit rubbish. 0.1. That's loads better than that. We'll apply as well. So, trying again. We go to a Boolean. We go to Union. Guard top. Let's just rename these quickly. Guard. That's handle. And that's pommel. Is it 1M or 2M's? I think it's 1M, 2L's. Ugh, who knows? It's going to be rubbed out in a minute anyway. So we go to the store, we go Union, we go to clicker, and that's the guard top. We apply that. Now that we've applied it, and it's a single piece, our guard top, our original, we can get rid of. So we go back on the sword, add modifier, Boolean, Union because we're joining, take the picker, and let's pick the guard itself and apply. Again, now it's applied, the guard we can get rid of. Always take a visual check at the screen to make sure it is working as it should be. So, back to the sword, add modifier, Union because we're joining pieces, take the picker, and this time it's the handle. Apply, go to the handle, delete the original, and one last time, add modifier, Boolean, Union again, go to the picker, select the pommel, and apply. Now the original pommel can be deleted. And there we have a single item. Call up your sidebar, go to 3D print, clean up, make manifold. Now we're going to keep our eye on the center of the bottom of the screen. 8 edges, 8 faces, no vertices. That's not too shabby. We're going to do it again. 0, 0, 0. That means that complete object is now manifold and ready for 3D printing. It's actually as easy as that. So we go down to the export tab. We're exporting as STL. We're going to open up our file browser. We're going to pick a location. It's going to name it after my project name and then the name of whatever's up here. So I go to export, keep your eye on the bottom of the screen. See users, OneDrive, desktop, untitled, Blade, because I haven't saved this, it's untitled. Had I called it, well, okay, let's call it. So let's call it Bob. So it's bob.blend, save as, bash. I now go export and desktop bob-blade STL, saved to this location here. That's it guys, we've done it. I'm going to go over a few more assets over the next few weeks, and when I've finally done that, I'm going to sculpt up a quick character, put it in a quick pose. I really want to try out the new Blender 2.81. They have a pose tool in sculpt mode, so I really want to try that. I haven't had a chance to play with it yet. And then we'll get to swapping in and out the assets, and you know, when your model is posed and rigged and ready, how easy that actually is. Boolean it all together, get it into your printer software, hit print, and there you have a finished model with your custom weaponry. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you've got any comments, chuck them downstairs in the comment section. If you've got any requests for anything you want to see covered, just let me know and I'll do my best to get something put together for you.